Spiritual insight readings from within the portal. Why settle for an intuitive reading with just one source of divination when you can have insights from all six within a single reading? Numerology, astrology, tarot, the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching, Kabbalah's tree of life, and sacred geometry are merely different layers to a single system of divination. The numbers from your birth date give direct insight to your life purpose. The vowels and concepts of the name given to you at birth reveal the vibrations of your soul and outer personality. Then we combine them to reveal your path of destiny. Each numerological correspondence links directly to a specific tarot card, an astrological deacon, an I Ching hexagram, and a section upon the tree of life. Your birth date and name are then laid out upon sacred geometry's right triangle to provide a blueprint for your entire life. First, I configure your correspondence in your blueprint. Then I meditate on them and you to channel information from the Akashic records that you specifically need to know. I allow intuition to guide it and reveal what your purpose and destiny is and how to fulfill it. A single reading covers your entire life. They provide tools and instructions for you to develop your spiritual self and better manage your worldly life too. Good morning.
Morning.
Let's jump right in as usual. First, let me say that Barb sends her love and can't be here today. She's got a concert to perform. Her quintet was hired to play some type of an affair. So let's say break a leg for Barb. She's playing today. Her love and passion is music, and she doesn't just play wind instruments. In her words, flute is easy. She plays things that look like they're from a Dr. Seuss book. They're massive and they're bizarre. She plays the cool stuff. Anyway, I'd like to, before we dive into our soulmate kitties and soulmate puppies and birdies topic, I want to address the topic of Sangha. I think it's greatly overlooked. Sat in Sanskrit refers to the spiritual aspect of qualities. Sang means association, to connect with, to spend time with, to associate with. It also refers to the community, a sangha, as it's often referred to in the Buddhist traditions. The sangha is a very important, noble part of the Buddhist tradition. There are four main aspects of the Buddhist path, and Sangha is one of them. There is the teaching, there's the Buddha himself, and then the Sangha, and then there's one other I can't think of at the moment. So the point is that often I am mentioned to people that they don't have time for their spiritual growth and path and work and sadhana, etc. They're overwhelmed, and I say bullshit. We're all overwhelmed and busy, and yet we make time to do things that we want and need to do when we need to. Nothing of value comes easily. It takes sacrifice and commitment. And the point of Sangha is to provide that. Our saints, sages, and masters have created a variety of different opportunities to us to have sadhana and satsang, to associate with spiritual aspects and concepts. And I try to do the same with books, with videos, with recordings, with weekly free meetings, these types of things that allow people to pick and choose what suits and fits them. It is the most classic area of procrastination we all have. I'll do it soon. I can't do it right now. I really want to. I'm going to. It's the most well-intended but rarely fulfilled aspect of our lives. And I agree. As I got off of dope in my late 20s and became a father, I was very much in pursuit of my spiritual growth. I just had my Kundalini awakening months before, and I had already been spiritual path prior to that. So I was really dedicated to put the time and effort into develop it and sustain it. And I was a full-time single parent, and I worked nonstop, and I built a business. So I don't want to hear an excuse about don't have time. I didn't have any time. A single parent of a toddler, it was overwhelming. I did what I could in the car, in the morning, in the afternoon, whatever. Sang is a vital element because what it provides us is this opportunity to connect.
Whether you can be here live like you are right now or watch it later, live has its benefits because you're more involved. You're less likely to have your mind wander. And that's my thing is when I'm watching a video, even satsang that I'm totally into, my mind can wander. If I got other things in my mind, something in the kitchen, some kind of hunger, whatever it may be, there's a million things that when the TV's on that I automatically am programmed to think, you know what, I can do what I want. The community is an opportunity for us. Most spiritual people are not extroverts. We're introverts. Some are extroverts, but generally people are introverts because spirituality is a very introverted process. So we're not drawn to and don't always recognize the value of social interactions, even on a spiritual level. Matter of fact, we have a tendency to go against it. I don't want to be around people, especially during my spirituality, so during my satsang. I want to have my own private space where I can really absorb and immerse myself into it. Last thing I want to be distracted by some naggy parent and their kid in the temple annoying me, which for me is a very low threshold for. So, and yet I recognize and I trust my guru and the other masters that emphasize, like the Buddha, very much so, emphasizing the significance and vitality of Sangha, of community. It forces us to participate at a higher level. It makes us commit. It obligates us. We feel guilty if we don't go. That's a good thing. Things that we feel guilty of is a sure sign that it's something we should be doing. Guilt is not something to avoid. Guilt is something to examine and think, why do I feel guilty about that? What am I not getting out of this that I feel bad and I should be getting? I don't like feeling guilt or shame, but when I do, I recognize its value. It's an alarm system telling me something, getting my attention to focus on something. More people should feel guilt and shame. We meet them, most people are pretty horrible, and most of them should feel some more guilt and shame. It's a healthy mechanism. So I want to emphasize for those who watch this on YouTube later, the song is very important. Yes, it's a little bit awkward to make the time and show up and have to interact with people and watch live and all that kind of stuff where you can't skip and fast forward and go get something to eat, whatever, which you can. If you need to get up and go do something, you can. I'm not going to put a gun to your head. But again, the obligation. My own Swamiji teacher, there's my guru and my Swamiji teacher. The direct agya, direction, from him was when I couldn't go to the satsang temple very often because it was a little bit of a ways away, 30, 40 minutes away from me in Los Angeles. I said, I'm doing satsang every day at home, but I can't go to formal satsang because I'm busy. I got to work. And he said, go once a week. So I began going at least once a week. And I usually did anyway. And eventually I was going like twice a week. And I was wondering why, when I was doing satsang on my own and giving such fulfilling, profound experiences with my own satsang. And I recognized very early on, as usual, he's right. He's omniscient, so he's going to be right about everything. So it's automatic. Like whatever he says, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to do it. I'll find out later what the benefit is. That it does have a very special effect in your heart. I don't like people much. Here's my reaction to people. Yeah, really? That's my. Let me real quick for fun share you my reaction to animals, which is today's topic. Oh, where's the online man? Hmm.
That's rather convenient store.
Here's what I think when I look at Chow Chow Bang. I love him so much. There are times when I just look at him and I think, you know what? I just love him so much. And I thought that the other day, and that's what made me remember that scene from that classic movie. Holly Hunter, she's amazing. Anyway, again, we're talking about the association. Again, spirituality is a very introverted process. And yet there's this powerful encouragement within every path in religion to connect with the community. And again, for two major reasons. One is because it obligates you. Because when you start to go and then if you don't, you're noticed, and you know that people are going to realize that you're not there. And there's a party that says, you know what, I don't want people to think badly of me. So it kind of guilts you a little bit, puts a little obligation to you to make you show up. And many times when I'm going to satsang, I'm like, God, I don't really want to deal with this. I don't want to get on my shoes and drive over, blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, there's a part of me thinking like, but if I don't go, people are going to realize that, and they're going to be like, oh, where's Krishna? Like, he doesn't give a shit, does he? Right? And I'm like, oh, well, they should judge me. That's not very spiritual, but it's going through my head. And so sometimes I'm like, you know what? Just to get rid of this guilt feeling, I'm just going to go. And then when I do, I always enjoy it, and I always feel great. And I always feel good for being there and having done it and committing to it and doing that type of seva, all of it. So my point is, again, that the community is important. People who watch this later, I encourage you to join us. Again, you see as you watch these things, it's very subtle. We're not very formal. We're not very interactive or social or anything superficial at all. We just kind of relax, and we have a decent time talking about some deep and profound things. So thank you both for being here, and people that regularly show up and people that even watch later, etc. That's so part of the community. I want to, again, simply emphasize that don't underestimate the value for your spiritual growth for satsang community. The formalities, they have a very vital part in your sadhana, in your spiritual work. And now let's depart from that and get into today's topic. Now, we talk about a lot of heavy stuff in our Saturday meetings, the content of the book, and I also like to keep it light. The chapter Chow Chow Bang was carefully placed where it was. Honestly, through most of writing of the book, I wasn't even thinking about putting him in there. But I realized at some point, I'm like, you know what, there are times when I'm writing this, I'm like, you know what, this is really heavy, and I really want to bounce people back into something that's a little bit more light and remind them that, hey, it's not all death and darkness, you know? And so I like to have fun. I have a pretty good sense of humor about stuff. And Chow Chow Bang was an opportunity to do that with that chapter. Because I did realize that as I'm writing it through the story, I'm like, you know what? Like, I want people to realize, like, I wasn't all completely alone. I mean, I did have some companionship with this soulmate. I'm going like this because he's happens to be, which I don't think you'll be able to see him. He happens to be right here joining us today. He loves satsang. He will often join me in my satsang room when I'm doing satsang. So here he is, little celebrity kitty. And again, I wanted to emphasize that through many different levels, the significance of karmic connections between different people, pets, and as I said in this email blast, that I referred to it as soulmate kitty and soulmate pet puppies and birdies, which I didn't put in there, but indeed, we feel such a bond, connection, and commitment to our pets that is unlike any other. I'm not saying it's bigger, better, deeper, or more significant than that with a child or a partner. I'm simply saying it's different, and it is, again, we definitely can't undervalue and say like it doesn't matter as much. Most of us would absolutely kind of die for our pets and put a lot on the line for them and all those kind of things. They have unique personalities. I'd like to go ahead and jump in actually with a little passage from Portal. Again, we're not going to go too deep. It's going to be a little bit of a lighter passage. And it's pretty short. This is from Puget Sound Purgatory. So I'm new to the Pacific Northwest and introduced Chow Chow Bang in the chapter before. And this is just a little anecdote of while I was living there. So I moved into this apartment while I'm having this house built, and it was miserable. I mean, I'm in this, well, I'm going to explain it. Chow Chow was virtually grounded. It was unsafe to let him roam freely in an apartment complex, so he was trapped inside this shoebox shithole. He'd gone from 4 acres of playground to 650 square feet of confinement. My sorrow of confined and shitty apartment living was exacerbated by his. Seeing him suffering by being confined, having no capacity to understand it, broke my fucking heart. Because I love him so much. I did some research and bought two things: a leash and a GPS tracker collar. Because he's always been indoor outdoor. He does what he wants. The GPS tracker collar synced to an app on my phone. It would alarm me if he went outside the predetermined zone I set to it, which was 150 feet circumference of the apartment. When it went off, I could track it within a few feet, usually. It was not exact, and sometimes it just told me where he was within 20 to 25 feet. That ain't enough. When it snowed, he got lost. He couldn't smell his way back because the snow didn't keep his scent. I tracked him, but he wouldn't come to me, and it seemed all was lost. It was barely 35 degrees out, and if I didn't get him in before the sunset in the next hour, he would definitely not make it through the night. In his confusion, he barely recognized me, and I couldn't get close enough to give him my own scent. He sat beneath a tree, terrified. If I moved toward him, he would run away and get more lost, and within a few more feet, the GPS unit would lose the signal altogether. So I laid down on my back in jeans and a t-shirt in the snow. I avoided eye contact to neutralize his fear and embarrassment. I outstretched my hand to him, and not making a sound other than humming the theme to the TV show The Courtship of Eddie's Father. People, let me tell you about my best friend. He's my one boy, my cuddly toy, my ups, my downs, my pride and joy. This was the song I'd sung to Brandon when he was an infant, falling asleep, and it meant the world to me. Sure enough, Chow Chow Bang, Chow Chow, the Bang Bang, aka Pie, inched slowly toward my hand where he could smell a familiar scent, and I grabbed him. Tragedy averted. Another one, he had wandered up a hill and was almost outside the GPS coverage by the time I even got close. I found him, but I was on one side of the fence and he was on the other. I don't know how he got there. And he was confused and lost. It was over 100 yards down the hill to go around the fencing and 100 yards back up before I could get to him. By then, he'd be gone, gone, gone. I lay down in the dirt, calling to him, friendly and cheerful so as not to alarm him and get him to follow me. I coaxed him all the way down the hill from the opposite side of the fence and coaxed him to the front door. Mission accomplished. There were several of these, but locking him inside was not an option. I'd rather he die being free on his own terms than live forever as a prisoner. We all have our stories and our tales of animal associations. I speak about totems within this book. I want to mention again, I want to plug the book real quick again, remind people that watch this later that the book is on sale, the ebook, for like $288. So I encourage people to get this. You don't have to just hear it. I mean, this is very inexpensive and a profound experience to have. And again, in another chapter right next to this one, while I was in Puget Sound, is the chapter with the totem bald eagle that showed up in my backyard at a pivotal moment. Vijal, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to segue for a moment and take a moment. Could you tell us about your soulmate partner, your buddy that's with you? Tell us about what's her name again?
Her name's, well, I've named her Angel,
Yeah,
because
that's
that's what
right.
she is to me. Yeah. They're the most boring type birds, but it's a pigeon, and she always ends up at my door, and she's been coming for the past 8 months, and she always turns up. And I remember she was quite ill. So I had a friend in New York who I messaged who rehabilitates birds on the street. And he's very passionate about pigeons. And he says nobody really understands why. So I asked him what's wrong with her. And he said, well, she's got something called canker. She's not going to survive. And that broke my heart because I was just so. And that's when my devotion really helped, because I just said I said, well, whatever God is, wherever God is, whatever they look like, I want the angel, who I named Angel, to be saved. And lo and behold, I actually fasted for 6 Mondays just in prayer so she gets better, because he had said she's not going to survive. Anyway, she did, and she's live and kicking now.
Wow.
And she still turns up. So to me, she's just an angel and a miracle one. So that's my association with spiritual pets.
And I have seen her, and she is lovely. And how often does she come?
Well, she was here not long ago. Yeah, she's gone now.
So
She's got a
basically,
partner now. She's got a partner, so she's
there's
busy.
this pigeon that you see regularly. She comes and visits you. She doesn't just
Yeah.
randomly fly by. She comes and
No.
visits you. She like
Yeah.
comes to your little door and hops around outside to get
Yes.
your attention.
Yeah.
It's a bird.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
There's a
so
very strong
sweet.
connection and bond there. Isn't
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
adorable? And I
Yeah.
met her. I saw her once. So
Well, she's got a partner now. I've named him Mario. So don't ask me why.
no, I have to ask you why now. Is it a
I
video
don't know.
game reference?
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Yeah.
Angel and Mario.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's a good combination. So anyway, thank you for sharing that. And again, that what I love about that, and it escaped my attention until I thought just this morning, I thought, I got to ask you about Angel, because again, that kind of a rare situation. And thank God and bless her for being well and coming through that. And I think there's absolute hard to deny that your prayers and your fasting were a major role in that. And I'm sure you were aware of this. And even, let's say we're all fantasizing, it's not just a coincidence, which none of us believe in. What a coincidence.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it was really anything cosmically connected or not. The bottom line is we see it this way, we perceive it that way, and you got nothing to lose, right?
Right.
I got nothing to lose by fasting and praying and caring, so why not?
Correct.
One of the reasons I wrote the Chow Chow Bang chapter was not just to remind people that I wasn't entirely alone through the traumas that I was going through and give it a little bit of lighter aspect and some of the anecdotes regarding him along the way. But it gave me an opportunity to talk about the soulmate variations and past life connections. The mechanics of reincarnation, and again, song association, is whatever we're attached to is what we reunite with throughout our lives and in future lives. Who we meet, when we meet, how we meet, soulmate loves, family members, and pets are souls that we have song associations with in past life. To what degree? It depends on the bond we have. The bigger and closer the bond, the more connection we had in a past life, obviously. Again, this is our fields of attachment. So the Chow Chow Bang chapter, along with a couple others, gave me an opportunity to discuss these very profound and deep subjects in a kind of light and fun way. Instead of being all academic and all smarty pants about talking about the machinations and mechanics of past life connections and that, again, I got to tell it through the eyes and the perceptions of having a pet and that little anecdote there with him being caught in the snow, and keep it a little bit light. Excuse me. I'm in a new spot to sit. I'm not always over here, but anyway. So the fun is that we can also indulge in exploring how we knew them. We're all curious. We again feel this intricate bond. There are thousands of pigeons. You're in the London area, right? There are tens of thousands of pigeons, probably just in a square mile of you, And this one found you, you found her, and she comes every day, all the time. That is phenomenal. Again, the odds of this, and again, how I explain how Chow Chow came into my life, which I gave in the email blast. It's pretty hard to deny. It's pretty common, took in a little homeless cat, whatever. But again, the way these things form together, all our relationships, the simple ones that we're born into with our family. But again, soulmate love and best friends and close associations that we have and spiritual associations that we have, usually there's a bizarre story there, how we connect with them. I find the value of this and sometimes the purpose of this, I refer to the Akashic agents who orchestrate and facilitate these events in our material phenomena to help us develop and learn and grow. I think that I often mention that the Akashic agents, I think, get a little bored with their duties and they like to be creative. So they get to have a little bit of fun with some of us. If you're boring, then they have to be boring. But if you're a little bit more dynamic and adventurous, they get to have a little bit of fun with you. I'm very adventurous. So I'm like a little plaything for them. They seem to like really just like to mix things up and make my life very, very strange. This is some of the indication. I point out in the soulmate chapter that one of the ways you can tell a soulmate is many times the way you meet. It's not impossible, but very rare that your soulmate is going to be met through a dating app or at your local pub. Not impossible. And let me tell you, as far as dating app is concerned, very unlikely, because what a nightmare catastrophe that paradigm is. Oh my God. I got a whole book of comedy verse, and I got an anecdote in the book on that one too. A couple of the dating app people that I met, hilarious. And I didn't make that shit up. If you read that stuff, I didn't make that up. Everything that's in there is truthful. One of those stories you're like, you got to be making that up. That can't be real. I didn't make one thing up. Matter of fact, I took a couple things out. Not because they're X-rated. It's because they just need some room. Again, the complications, the design that goes into these arrangements. There are over 8 billion humans on this planet, right? Isn't that what our population is? Something like that. I know I lose track. Too many. Let's put it that way. Too many. And every one of those is a soul in a human incarnation. And then we have billions, trillions upon trillions of other souls in animal bodies, insects, plants. Every living thing is a soul. And the Akashic agents and the spiritual phenomena that manages the Mayic material phenomena has to take all this into account to make them all connect and have harmony in them. We've talked about this in other classes. It's an opportunity for us to see the miracles and to celebrate that, the association that we have. How can we enrich these relationships? How can we convert these to help us spiritually grow? And again, as I mentioned further on down in that chapter, Chow Chow Bang, when it's Chow Chow's time to go, I plan on holding him close, playing Hari Ram, Kirtan, Nam San Kirtan during his time of passage, so that he has the opportunity to connect with, and his last thoughts and experiences are something that's spiritual. So I can send him off into a spiritual aspect and attachment rather than something material. So these are opportunities for us to take care of something that's beyond us, to explore and be curious and wonder at the miracles and magic of these relationships. Chloe, do you have a pet story, a pet association?
I don't have anything as potent as Bijal's beautiful story with Angel. I have a lot of just ongoing interactions with various animals. Maybe it's just that if I'm hearing the certain call of a bird, it reminds me of maybe need to check myself or soften my heart or whatever it might be in the moment. Or think about the joys or the opportunities or the beauty of the world around me. So animals play that, and nature play that role for me a lot. I did just recently come home from a trip, and I got a text from my husband of 3 raccoons that were huddled in the garbage dumpster of our house. They were adorable.
They are. They're also vicious and messy.
They just curled up until they figured it out. Someone threw a grate in there, and I think they were able to escape on their own. But I don't know. I just think about, oh, there's my little rodent family I'm coming home to. Me, my husband, and my baby girl, and I don't know, just the awe and the beauty of nature and animals, and I can't help but not save bugs and moths and flies, and I coax them out the door. Come over this way. Come on. This is your chance to leave.
Yeah, I found that as I do the same thing. I find that it's easier to coax them at the door than to catch them and kill them. When back in the days when I used to catch and kill them, it was impossible. When I'm trying to help them, it doesn't only takes a few minutes. And I had a big, giant, very angry bee in the house the other day. Big, huge, black, giant, very angry bee, very confused. And I got him outside. It wasn't easy because I'm allergic. Like I could die instantly being stung by a bee. And I took that risk. And I was scared. I was like a little girl, "Ee!" That kind of thing. But I got him outside. And I do find that when I'm trying to preserve them and save them, it's way easier. Trying to kill them is impossible. Flies, you can't even do it. So, and I do think that's very profound. And you and I shared some text a little while ago recently about the fact that I've got these turkeys in my neighborhood, wild turkeys everywhere. They're everywhere. I got deer everywhere. And we saw some hawks around the same time as each other, sent some pictures and shared that. And again, it seems to come in rhythms and in episodes. The totem factor, the connection we have with the animal world. And I agree. I think that these are opportunities to cause us to think, ponder, wonder, contemplate our role, our place within the Mike phenomena. What are we going to be? Part of the problem, part of the solution. The pinnacle of human aberration, of course, is child abuse and traumas. And secondly to that, we all feel it's about pets and animals. And yet there's all these people that can be cruel to them. I think the Sikh tradition takes it a little bit too far. As you said, you wouldn't kill a bug. And I respect that. And again, I don't either. I'm just going to get them outside, or I'm just going to leave them alone. They'll figure it out. They'll either figure it out or they'll go off in the corner and die somewhere, or whatever. I found that I have far less problems when I just leave them be. And I leave my door open all the time. My weather here is great. I literally leave it open like all day long. And again, the role that we have, what can we do? I lost my train of thought there. Where was I going with the
It helps us contemplate our place in the phenomenon.
Yeah. Our place in the Mike phenomenon. We've been animals. We might be again someday. Where are we going? What's our field of attachment? The animal phenomena, and again, I'm fully supportive of the totem concept. I have met many people and animals, more with animals, but many people as well, that clearly are from another dimension, popped into existence and then popped out. Had that happen several times. And again, I was saying that they come in episodes. We see a consistent theme. And again, as you and I, coincidentally, I saw two hawks the same time, the same day, one right here in my neighborhood. And then later on, I went down for a walk down by the beach and I saw a hawk there, like flew in, landed up on a tree as I was walking across the street right in front of me and just stayed right there. And it was kind of hard to deny that there's a theme going on. And I think that's an opportunity as well to look at the theme. We want to be careful not to over-examine it and overanalyze. I've often cautioned that as human beings, we have the natural impulse and instinct to understand, what does it mean? What's it trying to tell me? And as I gave the story also about Leah in the story about the three cats that appeared where the UFOs had been the night before, and that she gave me some sage wisdom and just simply said, as I started to analyze it, what do you think they're trying to tell me? These UFOs and the cats that appeared and all this kind of was very surreal, very strange, very supernatural what occurred. And she said, don't overthink it. They're just there to remind you that you are loved, that there's something beyond you that connects everything together. don't overthink it. And I had a huge sigh of relief because, again, my natural MO was to analyze and find the answer to the mystery. I want to know what's its message? What's it trying to tell me, right? I got to know. And I'm missing the point. And so much of my life, and again, when we over intellectualize, we miss the point. We don't appreciate just the beauty of it. One of the things I love about, for example, Barb as a musician, I can't play music. I play a little bit. I played a little here and there, but music's not my art. Writing's my art. And music and painting and these kinds of art forms for me are just to enjoy because I don't understand them. I can't analyze them. I can't intellectualize them. I have an intellectual process going with music so I can appreciate the nuances, but ultimately, I just enjoy it. Writing is different. My analytical mind has to be there for what I'm doing and for whatever I'm reading too. So I have a very scrutinizing standard for reading other people's work. I know there's between good stuff and bad shit. I know the difference, and I'm very judgmental. I'm very much of a snob in film and books. But with music and painting, which I can't do, and I can't intellectualize, I just get to experience and appreciate it for what it is without any analysis. I don't get lost in the analysis. Don't even want to, not even tempted to just appreciate it as it is. Pets do this as well. I think part of the point here is that this can apply to all of our relationships. The Sangha, the worldly community. To recognize the benefits, the more graceful elements of a living thing. Again, easy with animals because they're innocent and they don't really do anything bad. And whatever they do bad isn't intentional. They're not like trying to plot sinisterly like people do. They don't have the intellect. But can we transfer? And I'm speaking to myself as well as anybody else. Can we transfer this acceptance of a living thing to human beings? As I said, my attitude toward people is, whatever, if maybe something more negative generally. But towards Chow Chow and animals, I love them so much. It's easy to love animals. It's easy to love children. Well, if they're not yours. I love mine, but I stopped at one because I was like, I'm going to quit while I'm ahead. I'm not, because seriously, multiple children, I saw as a counselor, once they have 2 to 3, one of them is going to be a problem. And you're going to be a problem with them as well. So I was 28 years old. And I was like, you know what? I'm stopping at one. So I can put all my time to do this properly and correctly. Because if I try to split my attention between them, I'm going to do an okay job. But I want to do a great job. And I do feel I did. So the concept, animals, pets in particular, and children, is that we get to associate Sang with innocence. And I often point out that I don't have any. And I don't think I ever did. Oh, Sean, you must have had innocence as a child. Okay, I'm sure I did, but I don't recall it. I don't feel it. I don't recall ever having innocence. And so for me to associate with it, to be nearby and witness it is particularly a treasure for me because I have none of my own. I want to associate with things that I'm not things that I am. I want the contrast. I want to celebrate the qualities and features that I don't have. So I love about spending time with Brandon and with Chow Chow. They're the opposite of me. Brandon is a very carefree, in the moment person. And I'm very philosophical and examining. And I like that. I don't want to change that. I appreciate things on a level, but on my own, I don't get to see the details. He sees the details. I see the bigger picture. So I like the association. So animals and children can afford us this. This is part of the attraction that we have. And yes, Chloe, I agree. Celebrate that. It's an opportunity to be able to honor this and take a moment out and not just enjoy the art of it, just simply the pleasure. Like, isn't that adorable? Isn't that cool? But to also go ahead and have some analysis and wonder why. Why are we enjoying it? As a parent, when your child's a baby and they're asleep, you literally can just stare at them. They're not doing anything. They're a blob of flesh. But they're so beautiful. Part of the reason you can when they're asleep is because there's another part of you that you don't recognize. That's partly they're saying, like, thank God you're asleep. So part of the love and appreciation is like, stay that way. This is when you're at your best. And I again recognize the same thing as I came upon Chow Chow sleeping. And I'm like, oh my God, I just want to look at him. You know, he's so innocent. He's at peace. We don't see this within people. We're all in unrest. We have moments of peace, phases of peace, but we don't live within peace. There are people that will contradict me. Krishnan, I know people that live in peace. I live in peace. What I've been witness to is that the people that are experiencing and living an easygoing and peaceful and comfortable life are usually at the expense of somebody else, and they're oblivious to it. Somebody is carrying that burden. And again, animals the same way. I mean, they can be at peace because, hey, he meows and I feed him. He doesn't have to go get a job. He doesn't have to do anything, you know? Got his own hardships. Again, the challenge is, can we transfer and adapt our acceptance, our virtual unconditional acceptance of love to pet and animals, and generally to children, not specific children. Some children are pains in the ass. Generally, again, we look at kids at a playground and think, oh, they're cute. Like, look how innocent they are. When you get to know them, you're like, oh, you're kind of a pain in the ass, aren't you? You big mouth little punk. Some of them are sweet and cool, but a lot of them are like, you know what? And let's face it, we generally don't like humanity at large. Well, these were the innocent children that you thought were adorable at some point. They grew up to be assholes. So most of the ones that you see, they're like, oh, look how cute they are. They're going to grow up to be assholes too, because most people do. So it gets a little bit harder again. That this is the challenge in our spiritual development. Ultimately, we do not need to love people. We need to love God, divinity, divine love. When we love divine love, then we attain divine love, and that's it. I have nothing to do with humanity or people or the material phenomena. I simply want divinity. But the divine power is simultaneously saying, yeah, well, the material phenomena, all these other souls, they're part of me. And so if you don't love them, then you don't completely love me. I'm like, oh, no, I'm caught. That's logical, that's sensible, and I can feel it's true. That if I have contempt for other living things, well, then I must have contempt for God because they're part of God. I've got to love what God loves. Again, the adaptation challenge is to be able to transfer our acceptance that we experience rather automatically with pets and animals and children we don't know. I'm finding better ways to say that without throwing them under the bus. To like and care about people. It takes work. The realized saint, self or God realized saint, doesn't see people as individuals and people, egos, karmas, id, etc. They see them as souls. They see their essence. They see all of their personality, virtues, and defects as coverings, as clothing, as sheaths, material sheaths that shroud them. My own miniature experience of this is that, again, generally, I don't like people. I certainly don't like humanity. And as I've said before, I used to say, humanity I love, it's people I can't stand. Now it's quite the opposite. Humanity I can't stand. I don't trust it. It's corrupt. It's horrible. It's corporate. I can go on and on and on. People are part of that humanity. When I get to know them individually, really get to know them, I'm more than like them. I develop affection and love them. Not only in spite of their defects, partly because of them. As a counselor and as a guide and teacher, as I get to know them, I see where those defects come from. They tell me about their lives, and I learn what shaped them into who they are today. And I realize that they didn't wake up someday and say, you know what, I'm going to be an asshole. I'm going to be a toxic person. They were brought to this threshold and brought to this conclusion through their life experiences by other people and events. And when you get to know this, you feel something, an empathy, a sympathy, a care. This is the reminder that I use as I interact with the world around me. As I see people, not as pets, which are easy to love, but people that are difficult to even like, is that beneath all that is a divine soul that's no different than mine. And if God loves them, why can't I? To transfer that. And I fully confess it does not happen automatically or very well. The most I can usually get to in this process is intellectually, reasonably understand this is true and this is the way it should be, but admit that I'm not truly feeling it. I don't love that person. I don't feel love for them like I feel for my child or for Chow Chow Bang the cat or an animal. I know it, again, intellectually, logically, reasonably. I know it's the correct thing, the dharmic thing, but I don't feel that kind of love. And this blows my mind. As saints, sages, and masters, Yeshua the Christ, they have an unconditional acceptance and love for every soul. That parable in the Gospels, as a Roman soldier went up to Yeshua and said, Master, I mean, he's a Roman soldier. He's not supposed to be aligning with him at all. He says, I know we're not on the same side of things, but my servant at home is very sick, and I care about him very much. He's like family to me. I love him very much. He's very sick, and he looks like he's dying. Could you please come with me and heal him? I know if you come, I know you'll make him well. And Yeshua said, go, he's fine. And pointed out to his own disciples, that's what real faith is. The guy just accepted it. That whatever Yeshua said was gospel and was going to be true. This is the unconditional love that saints have, that we want to try to emulate. Again, the furthest I've made it with is reason and logic. I can't feel that kind of love towards people in the same way unless I'm directly associated with them. My natural instinct is to be repelled by them rather than drawn to them, which is, again, ironic and weird because all of my life, when I get to know someone, I don't just like them in spite of their defects, I often like them because of them. it's very rare. Notice I said rare, not impossible. When someone chooses to be a toxic asshole. Most people that are unpleasant, that we don't want to associate with, they're not consciously choosing this. They're not waking up every day and saying, you know what? I'm going to be a prick. I'm going to be a butthead. I'm going to be shitty. They also have good intention usually. They don't know any better. They're a product of their conditioning. One of the hurdles in my spiritual development and growth and progress is just that, to remind myself regularly, well, if you're so spiritual, Christian, well, then why can't you love more and be more accepting and less judgmental and critical of humanity and people? I'm like, well, but have you seen them? Can you blame me? As soon as I make a joke like that, I'm being critical, judgmental, and I'm installing my own bad karmas and collecting them. I try to do with some humor. And again, I like to think that what I know about myself is that the true essence of me is that I do love them. It's easier to manage the daily experiences with some contempt and loathing than it is to really feel sympathy and empathy for them, because that can be consuming, as we talked about in our empathy class. Hold on one second. An exercise that we can do from this topic is just that. First, let's begin with the animals and pets. As you wander through your life and you associate and connect and see and witness animals and pets, engage with your imagination. Ask yourself, how do I know them? Automatically assume that you have a past life connection with them that you can't consciously remember. But it's there, because what else would have brought you together? Angel the bird, there's no doubt. Again, there's thousands of birds all around. This one has found you, and she comes all the time. Not to anybody. Well, she might be a bird slut. For all we know, she could find 10 other people that she's going to get fed by, you know? But that's neither here nor there. Well, you know, there's the bird slut factor. That's a potential, that's possible. But again, to have some fun, past life regression experience and past life associations, doesn't matter if you get it right. You don't have to know. Even if you imagine, well, create a story in your head. I think I know them from, and just close your eyes and imagine some type of time era, costumes. Imagine how you knew them. Here's the cool thing. Likely, you're connecting to some part of that that's true. Because your imagination just randomly grab on stuff. Whatever you imagine is going to be based in some kind of historical evidence that it knows that you don't consciously. Have some fun with it. It's an adventure. The closer the association, and especially the more responsibility you have in the association, the more intense you could say the degree of prior life association. Again, the mail person that I see drive by and deliver the mail, maybe I knew them in a past life, probably did. We've all known each other at some point in the past, in eternal and infinite lifetimes, but not a significant attachment there. But Brandon, who I've been entrusted with and who I'm bonded with, well, clearly we have a very deep connection from past lives. So the magnitude, the depth of our relationship is indicative of our past life connection with them. Have some fun exploring it. Whether it's a bird, a cat, an insect, or a person, have some fun exploring it. It takes the sting out. Instead of sitting there thinking like, oh, that person's an asshole, just cut me off in traffic. If you're exploring this philosophical wonder wondering option of who they might be, you're not thinking the negative things anymore. At the very least, you've neutralized your negative thoughts. And it makes the world a better place, right? Good thoughts better than bad thoughts. This is another form of sadhana as well. As we convert our material experiences, daily experiences, connections, associations into spiritual perspectives, what they mean, the context that they take on. Again, what's happening there is true to the words of sadhana and satsang. You are spending time in spiritual thought. Even if it's just your imagination, you're ruminating, wondering, curious of, exploring, pondering, and therefore you are associating with your spiritual self. In the spiritual aspect, the gunas of the material phenomena, rather than the material part of it. That's a benefit. And then, of course, there's the self-improvement factor. As I unabashedly will self-criticize, judge and examine my negative associations or feelings towards people and things. Again, that's a healthy mechanism. Sociopaths have no guilt or shame. Literally, that's what a sociopath is. The fact that I might have some guilt or shame about feeling or thinking negative things about somebody is a good thing. That shows that I'm healthy. That's all it shows. Now, if I try to improve that and expand on that to become a better person and reduce the negative thoughts and actions that I have, then I'm truly developing. This is what our masters, our Buddhas, and our sages and saints are encouraging us to do. For a multitude of reasons. They're not trying to make us better people to be material people. It has nothing to do with that. It's because it blocks our capacity to attain and connect with divinity. It gets in the way. As I've often pointed out in the Buddhist path, a little distracted, Chow Chow's coming in his little door. That the Eightfold Path and the Ashtanga 8 branches of yoga are not the exercise and things that will take you to enlightenment or realization themselves. They simply are cleaning you up. They're helping you detoxify and get rid of the stuff that does get in the way. So in this sense, again, that the benefit and the significance and emphasis from sages and saints for Sangha and our association and having good, clear thinking about it. It's for our own benefit. Because every moment we spend in negative thought towards a thing or a person is an attachment in the material phenomena, which takes us away from our attachment to the spiritual phenomena. The paradox and the dilemma is this. How do I love my roommate here, Chow Chow Bang, who's right here? There we go. Then you can see who's right over here again. He's back, joining us for satsang. How do I love him, care for him, without forming an attachment that's going to bind me to the material phenomena? I don't want to come back as a cat. Oh my God. I don't even come back as a pet owner. I don't want to come back, period, ever. I want to be transcended and gone. And how do I care for and love while preventing this attachment from binding me to the material phenomena again? I confess, I don't have a big answer for this. I'm not that evolved. I'm not a sage and saint. I'm not a Buddha. I know what they teach us. Remember that the Buddha left the palace. Wife, kids, family, royalty, blah, 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 just walked out and left. abandon them. In our human culture, that's bad. You should not do that. And I thought about it, thinking, well, if I want to be spiritual, I guess I have to walk away from all that, detach. But that's a Buddha. That's not a stupid human. We don't have that capacity. It is bad dharma, bad sangha, bad all the way around for me to neglect the obligation that I have. I volunteered. I accepted this pet into my life, into my home. Therefore, I have to meet that responsibility. I can't toss away because now I'm done with it because it's not convenient for me spiritually. And yet, again, there's the risk that this connection and this attachment could very much indeed ruin my chances for God realization. If I was dying tomorrow, my last thoughts should be attached to God and divinity and my love for God, and that's it. Then I have a chance. But if my last thoughts are about my son and about Chow Chow Bang the cat, oh my God, who's going to feed him? Like, what's going to happen when I'm not here? Boom. Now I'm coming back as either a cat or a pet owner. That's it. That's done. So how can I meet the responsibility of loving family, pet, etc., and not have it compromise my spiritual development, growth, and potential to become realized, capital R, in this lifetime? Again, I wish I had the perfect Buddha answer. If it was happening tomorrow, I'm screwed. I would absolutely tell you factually, there's no way that if I was dying right now, that one of the main things on my mind wouldn't be, oh my God, who's going to take care of Chow Chow? How am I going to find, I got to do something so that could be my last thoughts. We need to balance these things. Essentially, our saints and Buddhas tell us, don't not remind, don't encourage, they tell us directly that your devotion and commitment to realization must be complete, 100%, not 99.999, 100%. And again, they contradict this by reminding us, hey, you need to take care of your family and take care of the people that, you got to meet your responsibilities. You got to do your karma, your duty in the world. As Krishna says to Arjuna in the Gita, you got to do your duty. Shut up and go do your duty. We cannot avoid emotional attachment for things that we are affectionate for, and living things and beings and lovers, etc. Can't avoid these things. We can't deny them. We're human beings. What I do is I try to prioritize. I don't prevent myself from loving people, animals, or anything else. I'm not going to deprive myself of that miraculous experience that sustains me in this shitty world, so much of it that I loathe. Indeed, seeing these hawks, seeing the deer, seeing the turkeys in my yard all the time, seeing Chow Chow take a nap, or what he did yesterday, which I'll share in a minute. I had another brand new story that happened yesterday. It was pretty wild. It gives me the sustenance to be able to endure another day in a world that is mostly mindless and selfish and superficial. And yet in my heart and in my actions, I prioritize my devotion to divinity and my sangha and my sadhana, practices and applications. That doesn't mean that I'm in satsang. If Chow Chow was in trouble, I wouldn't break from satsang in that moment and go help him. I would. I'm going to. But again, it's about intent. If it's done with spiritual intention, then it sustains and maintains a clarity and a spiritual connection. And again, in simple ways, I don't see him as just an animal or my pet. Again, as you guys all know that I don't like saying my this or my that, anything. I don't like saying my son, not my possession. Chow Chow Bang is a child of God. So is every other living thing. And so I'm not taking care of my pet or my attachment. I'm simply providing and serving as a sevak, a servant of the Lord for another living soul. And on some more than just subtle layers of my consciousness, I'm not just doing this because I love him. I don't just love him because I love him. It's because he's not mine. He belongs to God. He belongs to the divine power. And I've been graced with the opportunity to protect that. So if we recognize our loving associations as a seva, an opportunity to serve God and divinity, to care for them, to think positively if we can, then it becomes a spiritual act. Instead of a material karma action, it becomes a spiritual karma. This is the dance that we do every day in our lives, to be able to have the juxtaposition between our material attachments and our spiritual ones. Again, I confess that if I was dying tomorrow, I'm coming back as a cat because it's unlikely where I live and how I live. I'll get anyone that I can rely on. Being concerned with his welfare is going to be a major point in my mind. The agony in the garden chapter of the book, where I'm making my decision, self-murder, that's it, I'm done, I'm out. And then I plan and plot it. And part of the preparation for dying and self-murder, when I was kind of contemplating that, was I want to settle my affairs, my property, the will, blah, blah, blah. Think of a way to do this without causing any confusion or harm. And of course, what about Chow Chow Bang? Who's going to take care of him? Did you hear him? He's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, man, who's going to take care of me? We have all these responsibilities every day in our lives. Settle your affairs. This, again, is very much what the Eightfold Path and a branch of yoga are about, settling your affairs. Not just finding peace, but making peace. Not just find peace, you make peace. You resolve. You settle your affairs. Again, write your will. Do all these things. Prepare things. Make them set so that when you're gone, you're leaving no trace and causing no pain. Again, this is part of the cornerstone of the Sikh tradition, as we mentioned about the fact they don't even kill an insect. The most fundamental aspect of the Sikh tradition is they literally will walk with the broom and brush the ground in front of them, to brush any living thing in front of them so that when they're walking, they can't run the risk of stepping on anything. I confess that personally, I don't completely agree with that. It's far too distracting. And honestly, I'm thinking if I'm a fly, I'm ready to die. This is a shitty life. And if the sooner I die, the sooner I can get on to a next life, I can go through the process of my evolution to get back to being a human where I can maybe become God realized. So I'm not encouraging you to kill them all because you're trying, but at the same time, every once in a while, I am fed up and I'm like, you know what? You're gonna die today. At least when you get to die today, little fly, you get to be killed by a devotee that's devoted to God, and I'm going to do it in honor of God and help send you along. I'm not going to simply take your life out of anger. You are annoying me, but I am going to try to do this with love and with the intention of furthering your progress towards God. Because again, if I'm a fly, I'm like, somebody kill me now, please. I don't know how long flies live, but it's too long. I don't want to live as one, you know? And if I happen to be killed by somebody that is God-fearing and God-loving, even better, right? That's going to be some good karma in there. I know this, based on this logic, I don't want to take an animal incarnation anywhere near a Sikh. Am I getting the path right? Is it Sikh? Sikhs are the one that do this, right? It's the other one.
No, I think maybe Jane.
Jain. Yes, thank you.
Jain.
I'm always getting those Yes, Jainism. Yes, thank you. Yes, the Jains. So yeah, I do not want to reincarnate as an animal or insect anywhere near Jain. Because I'm like, step on me. I'm like, I ran in your way so I can get stepped on and get killed and given in my next life. Hurry up. You know? Again, the point I'm hoping to share today is that we can be mindful of these things. A consistent point that I'm often making is that every element, every feature, every moment of our life can be an opportunity to revel, wonder, celebrate, and be wary of our spiritual opportunities. Every moment in some way is an opportunity to pass or fail. We can choose to either be part of the problem, part of the solution. Take your pick. You're going to be one or the other. And I firmly believe that. There is no neutrality. You're one or the other. Part of the problem, part of the solution. And that's it. Whether internally or externally. And again, as with all spiritual concepts, I'm going to contradict it. I am not encouraging, advising people to be neurotic and overanalyze everything all the time, all day long. I got to examine every moment, every feature of my life to make sure that I'm being part of the solution, not the problem. Take it in stride, and in the background of your mind, run this dialogue, run this script that you're trying to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Keep this in perspectives. When you get the opportunity to, again, associate with some type of innocence, something beautiful, something wonderful, like when the hawk landed on the tree in front of me and these kind of things. I didn't stand there until the hawk left. I thought about it, that maybe I should stay here. We should bond for a while. He was looking right at me and I'm looking right at him. We're like connected, you know? Took my camera out, took a little picture too. Clearly came for me, partly. And I thought about, you know what? I should just stand here. Like, this is a pretty wonderful experience. I was on my way somewhere. I was on my way to take a walk in the park. Beautiful park that I have near my house. I'm going to take a walk. So I moved on. I did analyze it. I did take a moment to contemplate and ruminate for a moment and meditate, you could say. And I'm sharing it in a meditation kind of style. But at the same time, I moved on. This is, again, the juxtaposition, the contradiction, the balance of being able to appreciate and honor without getting neurotically analytical about things. So throughout the day today and other days, satsang, spiritual association, community connection. Go through your day, look for the blessings in everything around you, and simultaneously, because I got to look for the blessings. They don't, unless it's the animals and all that. They don't. Everything else, I'm kind of like I see it as kind of shitty anyway. So today, I don't have to go to a store. I'm not going anywhere into the public eye today. So I'm like, cool. I'm pretty safe. I'm just going to the tennis court where there's usually a couple deer. There's turkeys all over the neighborhood, and Chow Chow's right here. again, the final theme here is what I'm reminding you is to enjoy the wonder of being able to contemplate how you know the associations within your life. Where do you know them from? Don't fixate on it. It's not that important. Just simply wonder about it and have some fun with it is a way of celebrating and honoring that. Paying tribute and loving God by loving what God loves. And then move on. Live your life with some honor and appreciation. Any questions or thoughts to share? Going to have, again, I want to remind anybody that watches this that within the portal, the ebook, audiobook, print book, they're all out there. What I'm teaching and sharing here, you won't be disappointed. I'm plugging it and pushing it because I wrote this book in many ways. When I give these presentations and talks, I'm kind of like, it is redundant because what I'm explaining is in the book. It teaches you all these things and more in a fun way. And again, we're taking a little bit of a segue. I've been focusing on the beginning chapters of the book as I promote the book. And a lot of the beginning chapters are truly death and dying and hospitalization and all that. But again, I don't think it's that dark. I have my sense of humor in it. And so the decision to segue away from that into these chapters with Chow Chow Bang and some other things like Happy Pilgrims coming up and some of these other concepts is kind of take a little bit, again, sojourn to not depart from the so-called death and dying factor, but to maybe celebrate them a little bit and have the lighter aspect of them. The next satsang topic is going to be October. I love this month. And it's not going to be about a part of the book or a chapter at all, although I'm sure I'll find something to quote from it. But to explore the many diversity, the diversifications of the death concept. I mean, again, it's just coincidence. I was trying to find topics that were not death related, but it's being October, Dia de los Muertos, Diwali, all of these things really celebrate the aspect of death within our lives to remind us to live well. Death is going to happen, so live well. And so October's always been a very magical time for me. And I want to share the conversation about the variations within October around the world. Here's one thing I love about it, a little precursor, that if you, okay, so in North America, summertime, springtime, and fall, whatever, that's a great time to get good weather, blah, blah. And of course, the fall is really great. It's moderate. It's not too hot, not too cold. It's like moderate right in between. Everywhere you go in the world. Okay, so when it's wintertime here, it's summertime, it's hot as hell in Australia. And opposite. But October, everywhere in the world, it's pretty good. That's kind of like their spring, I think. And India, which can usually be pretty miserable, I like it in the wintertime there. But October isn't so bad. Again, October is about the best you're going to get the middle of everything, and it's around the world. Again, any time of year. In January, there's certain places you can go. I can go to India in January for sure, but I'm not going to go to Australia in January because it's summertime there and it's hot as hell. But October, pretty much universally, worldwide, globally, is like the ideal time. No matter where you go, you're going to be okay. Weather-wise, which is vital for travel, you know? So I think it's part of the magic of it. And of course, I want to share some of the diversification. We're going to talk about and have some celebrations with some of the very different aspects of celebrating the harvest and the concept of death and life and ancestors with the different traditions throughout the world. So we're going to go into that a little bit before October's over. This is going to be our little Halloween venture. Okay. Any questions, any comments? Well, thank you both for being here. Thank anybody that comes and watch this later, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Jay
Bye.
Shidati, glory to the essence of divine love.